When they announced that a new Gravity Falls book was coming out, I have to agree that I let out a very unmanly scream.
The journals!
I'm a gigantic fan of the series, and this new book sounded great. It would bring back missing pages from Diary 3, Bill Cipher's story, Pine's family secrets, the meaning of life, and it was completely canon. Alas, you can't forget, it's written by Bill Cipher, which left me confused. At the end of the series, it's pretty obvious that Bill dies. That big boy ended up completely destroyed, and all that's left is a statue. And if you decided to dig deeper, the only thing there was enough evidence for was that Bill would seek to be reincarnated, but would come back in a different form. And this is something that either you already knew because you saw a video of mine from several years ago, or you just found out and your brain just exploded. I highly recommend you watch that video to refresh your memory, and to be perfectly up to date with everything we knew about Bill until this book came out. But if you're too lazy, here's an ultra tiny mini summary. Basically, in the final episode, Bill Cipher summons someone called the Axolotl just before he dies, with the ancient power to return. We later found out what this was all about through a poem recited by Axolotl himself in a book that came out sometime later. The poem goes something like this. 60 degrees that come in threes. Who watches from within birch trees. Saw his own dimension burn. Misses home and can't return. Says he's happy, he's a liar. Blame the arson for the fire. If he wants to shirk the blame, he'll have to invoke my name. One way to absolve his crime. A different form, a different time. So the main belief was that Bill invoked the Axolotl just before he died, and directly ended up reincarnated as someone else in another time, with the mission to absolve his crime of destroying his dimension. Something that is thrown out the window by the events of this book, because as we already know, it was written by Bill Cipher after the end of the series. So yes, I don't need sleep, I need answers. Is Bill Cipher really dead? It's fortunate that I'm not the only one wondering. The question continues to bother me, like a thistle in my sock. Is Bill Cipher really dead? Since Weirdmageddon, I conducted numerous tests on Stanley's mind. His terrible jokes are still intact, and I inspected the statue for dimensional leakage. We also took turns kicking the statue, and Stanley took a few cracks with a crowbar. I burned every cipher-shaped item I had ever collected, and even threw away all my $1 bills just to be safe. Stanley, of course, found them and pocketed them. But the memory gun's effects have proven to be far from permanent. If memories could return, I shudder to think what else could return. It turns out that the first few pages of Bill's book have pages written by Stanford pasted over them, similar to his journals. This is because, as we find out later, Ford finds Bill's book among his possessions and discovers that he can't get rid of it. Ford tries to burn it, stab it, molecularly destabilize it, and even feed it to Waddles, but the book always comes back. According to Ford, there were already legends about this book, a cursed book with the sole purpose of manifesting Bill's voice in its pages even after his death. It appears differently each one, changing and rewriting itself based on the mind of the reader who has it in his possession. Thus, we are the next victim chosen by the book, and after doing a small invocation ritual not at all disturbing, Bill appears literally walking through the pages accompanied by a small monologue. You're probably wondering, Bill, you're an all-powerful being, why write a book, huh? Why let me read it? Also, aren't you dead? Are you dead or what? What's the deal? I have no idea what you mean. I'm perfectly fine. And for the next few pages, Bill is perfectly incoherent with his answers. He even has an interview section with Bill, and his answer if he is dead is yes. No. And while I like the revelation that he is the possible biological father of Phineas, and that Bill apologized for causing the apocalypse with a YouTube video playing the xylophone, there are exactly 0 answers here, so we must skip several pages to the afterlife section. Here Bill is asked directly that, if he died, then where is he? Bill replies that it was only a matter of time before one of his enemies defeated him, so he uses a little plan B that left him somewhere with enough time to write his book and plan his revenge. And no, he's not in hell. That's how Bill describes his place in the afterlife. Just imagine a place far away, where the music is always out of tune, where everyone is smiling but no one is happy. At this point, it is very obvious that Bill doesn't want to tell us what happened to him. And jumping to the end of the book, he tells us his plan. We are to go to Gravity Falls, shake hands with the statue and switch places with Bill, so that he gets to keep our body and we are left in his comfy VIP apartment in the afterlife, in Bill's words. Thus, he will be able to restart the weird Mageddon and destroy the Earth. But to our luck, the Pines family left some letters between the final pages of the book, which managed to break the connection with Bill. And then we have the truth, in the form of a poem. On the day Bill Cipher died, he used the trick he'd never tried. Shattered, broken, not yet dead, Cipher left in the conman's head a desperate plea, some panicked prayers, to meet the frilly guy upstairs. In a tank outside of space, the opposites met face to face. Just one shot to live again, he pled his case to his old friend. That's right, Bill, on his last legs, traveled to where the axolotl was, begging him to let him try again. The axolotl tells him he can't grow up being in denial, and will have to face his most difficult test to live again. What he needs most, a way to absorb his crimes, though changing his form will take a while. Bill thought he had it, that he had been able to fool the lizard. After all, he had never been defeated, and there was no test too difficult for him, or well, except one. Bill is sent to the 5150 dimension, out of the time stream, to a place called the Terra Prism. We have very few details of this place, but we see that Bill is trapped in rehab, with villains, sorcerers, and world-devouring titans from other realities, waiting to be reincarnated in other forms. They seem to be very powerful creatures, and apparently the most powerful are Bill and the Beast, who comes off as the giant dog Mabel saw that time she ate too much expired candy. Brutal. A Theraprism official apologizes, explaining that Bill used his therapeutic journal hour to contact us using that book, which explains how Ford knew about the book from before, since Theraprism exists outside the timeline. Bill has been a special case, as he incited riots on the first day and had to be put in solitary confinement, although they already put self-help posters in his cell to see if it helps, so they let him have 5 more minutes to finish his session and then confiscate the book. Bill ends his book with a psychological breakdown, but says it's only a matter of time before someone releases him. He doesn't need 1 million followers, just one. He just needs one human to open the book, someone to shake his hand. And on that day, Bill will escape the Terra Prism and return. Or at least he hopes so, judging by a color code we find in the first few pages. The axolotl thinks he has won, but Bill's games are just beginning. This is very curious because, although it is not certain, it seems that they are aiming for something else in the future, which, added with the secret website we discovered a few days ago, could mean new adventures in Gravity Falls, or something else. But we'll talk about that another time. For now, I apologize for the delay because I've been very sick, but beyond that, like the video if you liked it, subscribe for more videos like this one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.